Friends, on March 5th, 2017, our world changed. And we gather today to try and make sense of that change, to try and understand what happened, what is happening. We gather, of course, to share our love and to share our fondness, our memories for Nyle Mulkey-Chose. We gather to support each other. And I think most importantly, we gather to offer our love and support for Nile's mom, Susan, for Nile's father, Lars, for Nile's partner, Natalia, and their families. We gather to try and understand death, what death is. And I think many of us come here wondering, how is it that something that is so universal is also so deeply personal and so unique? Of course, it has a lot to do with the circumstances and our relationship to the deceased. But we all have so many questions about why we're here right now. There's not any logic, and I don't think there's any response that feels right apart from what we're doing right now, which is gathering. Several people have asked to be able to give tributes, and I'm going to introduce those people. I'd first like to invite Lynn Van Dersen to the stage.
So I got an email from Ariel, who used to live with Lars and Susan and Nile. And she was the closest thing that Nile ever had to a big sister. And she can't be here today because she's 7 weeks away from giving birth to her second child, who is a boy. So I'm going to share her words with you. To Nye, from your sister. Some things I am grateful for in thinking about your life and death. I am grateful that you died without pain. I am grateful that the last meal you ate with your mama was with your mama, who loved you most. I am grateful that when you left her house last Sunday, you hugged her 3 times. And that over your life, you never stopped hugging her, even when you were teased for being a mama's boy. I never once saw you push away her embrace. I am grateful that you were the most wanted child, and you knew it, and never doubted how deeply you were loved by your parents. I am grateful that you came to my wedding 3 years ago, taking time from the mountain with your beautiful Natalia. That was the last time we saw each other, and your hug will stay with me forever. Strong, loving, and as familiar as when I first picked you up, age 1, and declared you mine. I am grateful that you got to experience deep, committed love with Natalia and were envisioning your future together. I am grateful for every fish you caught, and there were many. For every mountain you ascended and sped down, for every giant rock you climbed and jumped off, always fearless and graceful in your body. I am grateful for the friendship, trust, and camaraderie you shared with your dad. I am grateful for your expansive definition of family that included me, Kate, and Patty, Rachel and her children, your huge group of friends, co-workers, and all the animals you loved since you said your first word, shock. Shark. I am grateful for your smile and your goldenness. I will always hold an image of you as a naked 5-year-old fishing off a log beside Kootenai Lake, hair and skin glowing. I am grateful that you showed me at the age of 5 that I wanted to be a mother and let me drag you around on my skinny hips. When I had my daughter Rosie 2 years ago, it felt so familiar. And I am so grateful that you saved me from being an only child. Together we found siblinghood, and in choosing each other, it was all the more special. You let me torture you like any big sister would, treating you like a dress-up doll, tickling you mercilessly, mocking but secretly enjoying your request to watch Aladdin 100+ times. Thinking back, I realized that I can't think of a single time when you ever got angry with me. You followed me around, eyes full of love, happy to be included in whatever silly game Serena, Maya, and I were up to. And when we got too much for you, you would just run off and around on the deck and play hockey with Jord. You helped shape my heart. You were my first love. I will raise my babies with the confidence you taught me, encourage them to run naked and wild through the mountains, and ensure that they hear many, many stories of their courageous and beautiful Uncle Nile. I will love you always. Eric.
I'd like to invite Murray Pearson to the stage, please.
I'm glad that everybody's here because it's easier for us to go through this together rather than alone. Nile was around 9 years old when I heard that his grandfather had given him a fly rod. And when I heard this, I asked him if he knew how it worked, and he said no. And I told him that I'd be delighted to show him how to cast, and he said okay. About a week or so later, Sue brought him and his fly rod up to the spawning channel at Meadow Creek. So I explained a few things to him and gave him a brief demo. Then I turned him loose with his fly rod. And I figured he had it figured out in probably less than about 5 minutes. He was completely focused the entire time. I saw him later that summer, and I asked him if he had been doing any fly fishing. He told me that he hadn't. He had been casting down by the lake, but he hadn't caught any fish yet. And then he asked me if I would be so kind enough to take him up Fry Creek so we could go fly fishing sometime, next time I went up. And I said, sure, we'll do that. And I believe we only went fly fishing up Fry Creek together maybe 3 or 4 times. But he was certainly a wonderful fly fishing partner. I didn't have to babysit him at all. He was able to tie his own fly on his own leader. I never saw him snap a fly off. I never saw him get hung up in the bushes, and I never saw him tangle his line. And he would consistently make these long, graceful casts with nice, tight loops. It was a treat to watch. And then, when he laid his fly on the water, the fly line would be completely straight. The leader and the fly would just kind of hover over the water there, and then they just extend out just like that. He was an artist with a fly rod in his hands. And I was also really fortunate to be his hockey coach during his last year of minor hockey. He was a wonderful skater. He could handle the puck. He could shoot the puck, make all the plays. He burned lots of defensemen in his days out there. He was ultra competitive, and he was a great leader. He was our captain. And in really close games, when the outcome was in doubt, more often than not, he'd just get out there, take care of business, and we'd win. When it came to making the big play, he wrote the book. We had a great team that year with a great bunch of kids. In the playoffs, we made it to the final. Unfortunately for us, we lost in overtime. And after the game, we shook hands with our opponents. Everybody left the ice, and the arena was quite quiet. And I went back to the bench to grab the water bottles. And when I went off the ice, I just stepped off the ice. Nile was standing by the gate all alone, and he said to me, he was waiting for me, and he said to me, "Sorry we didn't win it for you, Mark." I'll never forget that, and I'll never forget Nile.
I'd like to invite Hayden Markin to the stage, please.
Those of you who don't know me, my name is Hayden. Nile was like a brother to me. He was my best friend. We worked together in the summers, spent any waking moment together when he wasn't with his loving girlfriend, Natalia. Working together day after day, he helped me become the timber cruiser I am today. Nile taught me countless things, whether it was how to double haul my fly rod, perfecting my fly tying, or how to read certain snow layers. His knowledge was endless, and he was always willing to teach anybody who would listen. We spent countless hours on the rivers fishing, hiked hundreds of kilometers in the mountains to lakes that had no fish. No matter what adventure it was, loss or gain, it was always worth it, because we were learning, bickering, growing, but most importantly, we were together. Some nights we would tie so many flies, our eyes would be bloodshot, our backs would feel broken, only to lose every single fly the next day on overhanging trees or that massive lunker that kept snapping our lines. On one adventure, we were fishing on a secluded sandbar, Kootenai Lake. Nile started fishing right away, while I was supposed to drop the anchor. I dismounted the boat without doing so, because I was distracted on the minerals on the sandbar. Soon after, Nile yelled, "Hayden, boat." I turned around only to see our boat was 20 meters away, floating down the river. Immediately I started to swim in the icy winter water, only to have my waders fill with water and start to sink. After releasing my waders, I struggled to shore, continued the chase. I managed to catch up with the boat, but unfortunately our fishing day was over, as the hypothermia started to set in. It was only a taste of the many adventures that made our bond closer. Every adventure we went on, I'll cherish forever. I can't wait to add new locations to our achievements. Nile will always be with me wherever I go. I know that he will also be with his love, Natalia, every step of the way. I was the third person in their relationship. The third wheel. But if we're being honest, Nat was the third wheel most times. I'm so grateful to have both of them in my life. We had so many memories together. I'll remember him for the rest of my days. I'll bring him everywhere I go, on every new adventure to come, every forest I visit, every river I step in, every fish I catch. I know Nile will always be there with me. Nile, we love you. So much that there won't be another day that goes by that I won't think of you.
I'd like to invite Jeff Pensiero to the stage, please.
Nile was the worst dishwasher that I've ever seen at Baldface in 19 years. It was like he didn't even wash the dishes at all. All he really wanted to do was go snowboarding, which can be a problem when you need a dishwasher at the lodge. So, you know, we hired Nile on as a homie, which means as one of these guys out here. And it's kind of our way of telling you, like, we'll give you a shot, but we're not going to really learn your name until we see if you're worth it or not. And it is the tightest group of dudes and girls that I've ever hung out with. So Nile was a homie, but a terrible dishwasher. And we couldn't let him go. So we got him into the guiding program, and I've really never seen anybody catch traction like Nile did on the way up the mountain. He was driven, he was so kind to every guest. The emails and the notes I've been getting from our customers have been overwhelming, and he touched a lot of people. He introduced countless people to the wisdom of the backcountry, which is what our mission statement is. And it was a pleasure to be his boss. It was a real pleasure. He made me a better guy. Some people say I mentored the younger guys, but those guys made me into a better boss, and Nile was on the leading edge of that. I finally got to go fishing with Nile this summer. Not only did he have a way better method than me, but he was a way better fisherman as well. So as I look at all these pictures of his career at Baldface and all his beautiful airs and slashes and everything, I'm jealous. Because I don't think I've had that many great days up there as he did. My whole staff is so sad and so sorry for your loss. I was up there today, and it took me about 45 minutes to get out the door. The customers are all reeling, and I can only imagine how it feels for you guys. But we're going to miss Nile at Baldface. The mountains are going to miss him, and I think we're all going to miss him. I think that's all I really got to say. Thank you.
Joel McBurney, please.
My name's Joel. I head up the guiding department at Baldface, and definitely wanted to speak to Nile's place in our family up there. Am I speaking loud enough? Yeah. So Jeff gave us some look at how he quickly rose out of the dish pit and got into the snowcat on a regular basis with obvious talent. And in the past 5 seasons on snow there, he became our senior tail guide, our most requested tail guide, from regular groups and or working with the many top-level snowboarders that we get. They all wanted to ride with Nile too, because he could represent, and they were really respected the way that he rode. Being able to do the job that we do up there it's very interesting. We have to be present. We have to be in that eternal moment to meet the mountains on their terms on a given day, and then move through them through the uncontrolled beauty with style and sensitivity. And really that's the guide's joy. And so Nile was in the right place, for sure, with his style and sensitivity. Definitely in the right place, as you can see from all these photos. And then there's the human alchemy. You know, there's the nuts and bolts of listening to the mountains and moving through them. And then we have all these people following us around all the time. And Nile was great at that, and I know it was partly his nature and also a lot nurture of this technique. so that's a real gift to give people that come to this area from different walks of life and different lifestyles and different pace, and to come here to the Kootenays and have us show them around is amazing. Nile was great like that. And he was also discerning. If people would come in, he wasn't afraid to, in a really kind way, that it wouldn't be offensive to them. He could let them know where they were on the scale of cool, sarcastic, a-hole, or otherwise. And they would leave better people if they needed it. They got it. A couple of years ago, we had a tough winter up in the mountains where spring came in January and kind of never left. And it was difficult. Snow wasn't what people were expecting. But I worked with Nile a bunch that winter, and it was amazing. He was like the Pied Piper. He had his Bluetooth boombox on the top of his backpack, and he'd just be pumping out the positive vibes. And we'd hike people up mountains. We'd get out of the cabin and start walking and go sit on a peak somewhere. And yeah, and look around the Kootenays, his home turf, and people were really moved by that. And then he might have lit up a few Kootenay candles, you know, those red needle balsam trees that just explode when you walk by with a survival kit later. Might have been a couple of those. I'm definitely going to think of Nile when I come across those charcoal totems in the zone. You know, Nile was discerning. He considered things, and you could tell if something didn't quite agree. If he didn't quite agree with something, you could tell. And then if you give him the space, he'd make it his own. And he would deliver capably. I know he certainly had our respect, and certainly the younger guides looked up to him big time as he was leading the way for them by example. On the last shift that I worked with him, he took the reins and he led a whole, feel it. He led a whole day. He went right from the safety briefing with the guests, and he took him out the door and just led the whole show in advance of his guide exam he was taking next month. He was on the path, and he did it flawlessly. The flow, safety, timing, and the jokes, it was all him, and it was so much fun to ride in the back of his program. I was very proud of him. And yeah, just want you all to know that that the team, the family up there is very strong and very passionate. And yeah, very grateful to have Nile. Thank you for sending him our way.
It just means everything to hear words from people who know Nile so well. I'd like to invite Mia Fujibayashi to the stage, please.
Oh, beautiful people. So I'm part of the guide team at Baldface too, part of that family, Nile's other extended family, and I want to tell you how much we all really loved him. And in doing that, I have a message from one of our other team members up there, one of our other tail guides, Devin Smith. He wrote a poem for Nile, and he's going to read it at the lodge tonight. Because as you know, the Baldface train keeps rolling, and there's a lot of our staff that's up there working right now, keeping it going for us. So Devin's going to read this poem tonight, and he thought it might be a really nice connection for us all if we heard it here today too. So this is from Devin. So it might be easier for you if you picture me as like a blonde gibber guy from Grand Forks right now. It might seem a little more real if you can carry that image, okay? Poem for Nile. Potential. The start. Homey life seems so right. Alongside great people in the mountains, both day and night. But dishes for hours made that hard to see the light. Guiding on a snowboard, Sean on next season. only portrayed as rad and bright. A job always challenging, rewarding, and almost surreal. Becoming a great snowboard guide became a big deal. The next season we met, 2 planks versus 1. A bet was set. Ski guide and snowboard guide, old mentality we kept. That same point, the past decided to bury and forget. It's a challenge we smiled at, toss in remarks, because a new chapter for mountain love expanded beyond the snow parks. Baldface, the family, our home that lit up our new future. Our guiding crew solid, sharing the knowledge well nurtured. Guide ticket 1 done. What's next to back our safe decision-making fun? Seasons later, guides training, we catch up. How's life? Cheers with beers in our car bomb glass cups. We may not have hung out beyond this great lodge world, but I bet you've got one hell of a girl. She knows and understands the love you have for the mountains, sharing the freedom of POW shredding, flowing like a drink from snow fountains. Nile, you signed up. More courses on a certain day. I'm stoked and proud. Go get skilled to learn your own way. Go after it, because you'll touch so many lives. In our beautiful mountain environment, on our boards we ride. Baldface crew, we are blessed in my eyes. Raise our view and look up at the skies. Let's watch a guide pack flip. Our friend Nile, fucking sending it. Thanks, Devin. Thanks, everybody.
I'd like to invite Stella Molnar to the stage, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Stella and for the last 9 years I've been part of the Baldface community. Didn't expect to say something today, but I have a message from Tanner and Carrie and Tarek and Tyler that they wanted to talk to you guys, so I'm going to read that. When I'm not here, I drive down to California a lot of the time and go visit my sister. I kept seeing these 3 beautiful young boys across the street, skateboarding, hanging out, and we started talking. And I'm like, what? You know who? So I sent Nile a photo of me and his cousins, and he's like, Stella, what are you doing with my family? Like, randomly, they live across the street from my sister in Huntington Beach. Yeah. Lars, Susan, Natalia, and all of Nile's friends, our hearts ache for you. We love you. Nile's infectious smile will be my forever cherished memory. We love you all. Carrie, Tyler, Tanner, and Tarek. And then here's Tanner, he's 21 now, right? It's a bummer that Nile lived over 1,000 miles away because we had so much in common. If we lived closer, I guarantee we would have done things together all the time, like fishing, skating, snowboarding, and much more. And he could have taught me something in all of those because he was so talented at all of them. I'll never forget when I went out to visit my Aunt Sue and Cousin Nile when I was about 13. He taught me a couple tricks at the skate park that I still know to this day. I'll never forget the times we spent together. I didn't see him much, but I looked up to him because he was always such a positive and free-spirited human being, no matter what happened. And super good at skating, which made me a little jealous, even though he was 8 years older than me. I love you and miss you already. Shred in peace, homie, like Aunt Sue and him always called each other. I will see you again someday.
Mike Scott.
Oh, Susan, what a gift you gave us all. What a gift. Nile and me were about 3 years apart, and I was in grade 12 and he was in grade 9. And he was hanging out with the grade 12s from day one. And not just because he was good at everything, but he was just so cool. And I think it's safe to say that like all of us looked up to him, you know? Nile had 2 things. You know, he had a wise soul, you know? know, as a person that believes in regeneration and stuff like that, I believe he lived 100 lives. And he was so wise. But he also had that inner child that he embraced so much. And Nile, he defied physics with everything he did. With his snowboarding, with his skateboarding, with his golf, his hockey, like where he said he tangled D, he made him look stupid. His fishing, he was so good at everything, and we were just in awe. What a beautiful kid. He defied physics in a way, in another way too. You know, he fit a huge heart in such a small little body. You know? And I know I talk for all our Kaslo fam here, and it's really nice to hear that, you know, he touched so many lives in Nelson. And we're all going to miss him so much. Susan, Lars, Natalia. I'm so incredibly sorry. You're welcome.
I'd like to invite Gary Cameron to the stage, please.
Thanks, guys, for coming. It's pretty hard to keep up here. But I wrote a couple things trying to stay on track with what Nile is, but it's hard to put a kid like that on a piece of paper. I had the privilege of living with Nile and Suze for a while in their basement on the floor. He was a pretty good kid. He was like a brother. So pretty much he started out grade 6. I heard all these noises from these girls talking about this kid who had all these skills. He was just so sexy. Of course, this kid was like, this is competition, what's going on? Who's this kid? So, next thing you know, he comes to school and everybody loved this kid. Like, couldn't beat him at nothing. He was the best at sports. He was skateboarding like everybody wanted to. Building rails in his backyard, hitting them. You couldn't out-jump this kid on a bike. He built something, he hit it first to out-jump everybody who was trying to beat his records. Yeah, he wasn't ever judgmental, he was never unreasonable. He was a good kid. The hardest thing about saying goodbye is you can't say hello to him again. So that's where I'm at. We used to walk to school together every day. He used to show up, you know, sometimes he wouldn't be there because he was mad at me. But I'd catch him on the trails probably because I ran to catch up to him. He'd be standing around talking bullshit every morning. Every lunch we'd go home. He'd be eating peppers and all these healthy things. We'd be raiding his cupboard looking for the Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I didn't have a buddy to listen to rap as much as Nile. Me and him could sing everything together, so it's hard for me to listen to music now because every time I listen to it, I can imagine him singing it. We used to do hikes and camps, all sorts of stuff. Kid amazed me with the knowledge he'd pull out. We'd go camping up at Buchanan. Nobody brought food except for that kid. 4 plastic cups and a liter of juice between 6 of us. Trying to gather rainwater all night. We came to Alberta when I moved there, and we went to Edmonton, hung out, went to the West Edmonton Mall. We wanted to go eat some food, so he says, Hooters is where we gotta go. Go to Hooters, we sit down, realize nobody can pay for this meal after we've eaten it. I remember Nile chased me down the hallway. I'm not paying for this. Run into Michelle at the end of the hallway. Nile's ex-girlfriend. We had to talk to her while security was looking for us. Oh, the tension! It was awesome. You could cut it with a knife. I was lucky to have him in my life. There was nothing that we wouldn't do together. I didn't have to give it to him as much as I don't want to. I tried to be the best, and he didn't have to try. Yeah, I just want to thank you guys for coming out for him, and I want to tell you guys he'll be missed, and I love you guys. Thank you.
I'd like to call Randy Morse to the stage.
So, Susie's asked me to say a few words, repping for all of Nile's loving Kaslo uncles and aunts. Guys and gals more of my generation than the last speaker. And that, I don't know where you are, man. That was awesome. I'm deeply honored to do this, and so this is a pretty heavy occasion, and I've been going about putting this handful of words I'm going to say in a moment, a lot of thought, and it's been a daunting task. And then this morning I woke up and I had a realization, and that was that, yes, this is an incredibly serious moment. But what occurred to me was the simple question, what would Nile advise me to do if he knew that I was standing here doing this? And the first thing he would tell me is, ditch the dumb jacket. Don't be embarrassed of your tat. Then he'd look at me and he'd say, okay, yeah, that's progress, but that's not even vaguely cool enough. And he would hand me this. Right? Oh, he'd have me wear it backwards, would he? But he'd want to make sure you saw the cool logo first. And then he would have advised me to put on a bunch of other stuff in the bag, but it would just be too embarrassing for me, so I'm going to stop here. So, some of us come into this world apparently by accident. Too many of us arrive unwanted and unwelcome, but others are the result of long-held dreams and intense longing. Beloved long before their birth, greeted with tears of welcoming joy at their entry from womb to world. Nile was such a baby. Now, it's not impossible to fail as a human being when your parents so clearly adore you, but the love leveled at Nile from well before his official entry onto this strutting stage we call life clearly upped his chances at becoming a good man. So, how did he do? How do we measure a man's life? Is it the amount of time he spends among us? Or is it the quality of that time? Is it the simple math that counts the number of years, months, days, and hours he moved on this plane of existence? Or is it the vastly more complex question, the equation that somehow takes into account the influence he had on the world around him and us who are in it, that truly addresses this question? And in Nile's case, as you've heard very eloquently leading up to me, the answer is obvious. Nile became that rarest of human beings, a man, a young man, bursting with energy and enthusiasm, who, as you've heard, was also kind and thoughtful. That is sadly an unusual combination these days. On a planet full of pessimists, he was an optimist. In a world with a seemingly endless supply of men who were braggarts and cowardly narcissists, Nile was modest and bravely comfortable in his own skin. In an age when few men take the time to listen to the wisest among us, and I'm talking here of our children and grandchildren, of course, Nile would unselfconsciously hunker down to their eye level and seriously converse with a 5-year-old at the drop of a hat. Because he clearly understood what Antoine de Saint-Exupéry meant when he wrote in The Little Prince, all grown-ups were once children, but only a few of them remember it. And at a time when so many sons and daughters are estranged from their parents, Nile had their backs. I mean, well, let me just show you what I mean. That's right, the red box. How many sons have given their mothers a box of simulated dog turd and inscribed the inside of said simulated dog turd box with the following inscription, and a very clever drawing, by the way, as well. Don't worry, Mom, I got your shit covered. Funny, yes, but he clearly meant what he said, and Susie knew it. Seeing her and Nile together, and later her, Nile, and Natalia, served as a constant reminder to those of us who were around them how lucky we were and are to be in the presence of people like this. How lucky they were and are to have one another. The French philosopher Voltaire once wrote, It is with men as it is with books. A few good ones make all the difference. I give you Nile. I can count on one hand the number of people I've known who've truly followed their passion, wherever it may lead, in the process enriching and inspiring everyone around them. For most of us, the risk of following our dreams is too freaking great. The danger we might fail, the chance we might not make enough money, that we might not squirrel enough away for that happy retirement, the worry that others may view our chosen path as not serious enough, leads us to jobs we loathe, to living lives of quiet desperation, wishing we were somewhere else, wishing we were doing something else. But there are a few amongst us, I call them artists of life, who take a different path. And Nile was clearly one of them. Like the great philosopher and father of the concept of national parks, John Muir, Nile lived his vividly rich life following this simple admonition. The clearest way into the universe is through a forest wilderness. The mountains are calling, and I must go. Nile entered and exited this life in the rugged West Kootenay he so dearly and clearly loved. Nothing made him happier than landing a lunker in that special spot up near the end of the lake. And if there was something better in this world than launching down a couloir, shredding the gnar, through a waist-deep pow on a bluebird day in the Selkirks, Nile hadn't found it. What he did find, however, was a way to combine his passion for the mountains with the need to earn a living. For him, there was no line between work and play. They were one and the same. This made Nile that most elusive of beings, an essentially happy man. His fundamental goodness, his pleasure in all the small things that add up to a full, rich life were infectious. For Nile's parents, Susan and Lars, and Rachel, for Natalia, and the rest of his family, for Jerry and John and their children, and for so many of you gathered here today, who, like me, are so much more family than we are friend, Nile will be sorely missed. Yet, harking back to John's opening comments, is he truly absent? Some lives lived are but the tiniest of pebbles. When tossed into the pool of life, the resultant ripples never reach the beach. Others' lives are big as boulders, sending wave after wave crashing merrily onto the shore long after the rock itself has sunk out of sight. Nile was a beautiful, boyish boulder of a young man, and his ripples will continue to splash onto the shores of our lives for the rest of our days. As a father myself, the greatest compliment I can pay him is to, and Janet can confirm this, tell you that every time I would leave an encounter with Nile, I would turn to her and comment, "My God, he's such a nice young guy. He's so full of empathy. He's so enthusiastic. Hell, I could talk with him about our respective knee surgeries all night, drinking beer and shooting tequila. He reminds me so much of Andreas, who happens to be my other beloved son." I know that sentiment is shared fully by all of Nile's extensive Kaslo family. We all considered him quite literally one of us, and loved him accordingly. Muir once wrote, "Nature is ever at work building and pulling down, creating and destroying, keeping everything whirling and flowing, allowing no rest but in rhythmical motion, chasing everything in endless song out of one beautiful form into another." Chasing everything in endless song out of one beautiful form into another. Every time we see the excitement of a child catching his first fish, Nile will be there. Every time the snow falls and young men and women reach excitedly for their boards for the first time that season, Nile's going to be there. Every time we look out our window and see a happy bird we haven't observed before perched on a branch and looking our way, there he is again. Nile is now the morning mist over Kootenay Lake. He's the crunchy newcomer at Baldface, laughing with delight as he flies down a stupidly steep gully, knee-deep in pow. He's that unexpected jolt of inexplicable joy that will hit Natalia and Susan and Lars and each of us out of the blue every now and then, leaving us silently smiling without quite knowing why. And then it will dawn on us like the summer sun suddenly popping over the Purcells, and again we'll smile because we'll know it's Nile. And now, here is my secret, a very simple secret. It is only with the heart that one can see rightly. What is essential is invisible to the eye.
That is a very difficult act to follow. But I'm going to invite Susan Mulkey to the stage, please.
I am up here to thank you all for being here. It means so much to me that... Hi, Mikey. Mikey was one of the first people to hold Nile the day he was born. I just wanted to acknowledge some of my family who couldn't be here. My mom, Marilyn, and her husband, Bill, and my sister, Donna, and her husband, Jeff. Donna's been writing some beautiful things on Facebook that just meant so much to me. And Nile's godparents, Alan and Lindy, and his godsister, Shauna, and Kate and Patty and Ariel, his sister of his heart, and her sweet family. And the Mulkey clan, my Auntie Pat and Cousin Bill and Clint and their 3 boys, they were in one of the pictures. And thank you for representing Carrie and the boys. And our dear friend Noelle, who we shared a birthday with. And Susie and Sierra and Omar Washington and Uncle Tommy and Atisha. I just wanted to put that on the record that if they could be here, they would be. And I want to thank Lars and Rachel for your grace and your generosity on the tasks that you took on that I couldn't. And we've been a team from the beginning of Nile's life, and I'm so proud to say that we just navigated this with such an incredible grace and every single moment, and I thank you for that. We're deeply linked, and I'm so grateful. And my Kaslo family of friends, Margaret Ann let me talk to her at 3 o'clock in the morning, and Janet Mayfield, who was the Captain Major Admiral of this event. She had a clipboard from about the first 2 hours that we were at home. And Randy and the vendors and Paul and Chris and Joanna and Craig and John and Rick and Pat and Dr. Leaney, Emiliana, Thomas and Tegan, and Blair and Colette and Bob and Carmen and Krista, Michael and Corey, Son and Gary. There are simply not words. I just am so blessed. They have taken care of us. They've just fed us and tended every single thing, and I'm just so grateful. And Hayden and Homie Jay and all you guys, you're holding Natalia, and I'm so grateful for that. And your love makes it real, and you bring him closer to us. And beautiful Alina, thank you. You're just a goddess. I thank you so much. Your strength is just astounding to me. And my daughter from another mother, Amber, wherever she is, just at the back. I met Amber through Nile and Warren, and it was just love at first sight, and I'm just so grateful for you being by my side. And Warren, you too, and baby girl, for sure. And Jen Gunter, I am so grateful to call her my friend and my boss. And she keeps telling me that don't worry about work, it's all gonna work out. And her dear Seamus, thanks for bringing my firewood in. And to my darling John for holding me close, thank you for that. And I just thank everyone who let yourself be touched by his incredible uniqueness and his love. And he just wanted to give friendship to everybody. So glad you're here. And Michael Proctor isn't here, but he was the one who came in. Hey, Meg, hi. He was the one who came in on Monday and said that when elephants lose one of their own, they just gather. And they just gather and they wrap their trunks around the bones of their loved one. And I didn't want to call this a celebration of life or a memorial. It's just a gathering, and we're just like elephants. And I'm just so grateful you're all here. So, thank you.
I would like to invite Sylvan to the stage to help close the formal portion of today.
I'm wanting to speak to the journey. A little closer. I want to speak to the journey that Nile is on. It's hard to know exactly what's happening for him right now. But I suspect his essence is very full. And Lars requested me to guide a practice that we could participate in together to support him where he is right now. And just to extend that to support is his family and loved ones, the journey that everyone is on here. So please encourage people to join in with us. It's a traditional Buddhist practice, probably many of you have done before. And it's a breathing practice. Normally in our lives, we attract what we want to enjoy, and we try to keep at bay the things that are difficult. And this practice reverses that process. And the idea is that it's cultivating an awakened heart and compassion. It takes a little bit of bravery and some focus, but mostly it requires a lot of gentleness. There's a few stages, and I'm going to try to keep it simple. The first part is to find a place in yourself where you felt great happiness and fulfillment. And if we can anchor ourselves in that place, from that place, we can start this practice. The next part is to envision the abstract nature of suffering without details or thoughts. And to gently breathe this in. Just have a few breaths of this gently breathing in the essence of suffering. Now the next part is to envision light and love and healing and support. And to exhale that out. And now with this cycling, to apply this practice to our beloved Nile, to breathe in his suffering and to breathe out what he may need, his support and his love. Just do this for a few moments. And the last part of this practice is to extend it to all beings, for this suffering is directly connected to all suffering, and this love is connected to all love. Perhaps we could remember this in the next few days and to continue this support for Nile and his family.